Welcome everybody, I'm Tony Monaco, and I'd like to introduce you to the new GSi BURN. The BURN comes from the decennial experience of Crumar and GSi, first with the VB3 software, and then real hardware like the Hamacord and the Mojo for what concerns the simulation of electromagnetic organs and rotary speakers. Similar instruments have already been produced in the past, but none of them had all of the features that modern musicians demand today, like saving presets, MIDI control, and total programmability. The BURN is ready to be used right out of the box. Just connect your instrument, and you have the rotary speaker effect that you were expecting. Various models are inside the BURN. By pressing the Edit button, you enter the edit mode, and the first screen lets you scroll through all of the available presets. The first 9 are rotary speakers mostly dedicated to the electromagnetic organ. From 10 and up, you find other effects that could be used with keyboards or guitars. And now I'd like to share with you the wonderful features of this BURN. Taking a look at it from the top side, has a rotary dial so it's easy to scroll through presets and edit pages. Has a complete bypass mode so easily you can bypass this effect, so whatever you're sending from your keyboard will go directly out. Then it has your rotary controls, your stop, your speed, fast and slow, and also whether you're using other simulations or effects, these can be used to control those effects as well. Taking a look at it from the front panel, you have your on and off switch and power supply. Then you have your MIDI in and through, so you could control the presets via MIDI, but yet send on down the MIDI chain the information that you need to control other devices or use other devices. Of course, you notice it has a remote in, so you can connect a speed control pedal or a rail switch pedal or even control the wah-wah. Then notice that it has 2 inputs, a left mono, which is very important. We'll talk about that later. And of course a stereo input if you like, if you don't set it in other ways. And then of course it's got the stereo output, but also very important, has its own individual headphone jack and volume control. And now I'd like to show you some of the editing features inside the BURN. Once we find a preset that we would like to tweak, we can easily edit that or tweak it to our liking. Entering the edit mode is as simple as pressing a button, and the first set of parameters that I get to change are the speaker modeling. So remember, we spoke earlier about the first 9 being dedicated to organ rotary simulator effects, afterwards guitar effects, and then even keyboard effects such as chorusing, phasing, flanging, wah-wah. This has the ability for multiple effects. So once I find the effect that I like, then I can move on to the next page very simply. The next page allows me to set the tube overdrive. It has a tube built in, analog circuit with a real tube. So if I want to turn some tube crunch on, here I go. Get a little rotary going. Very hip. I can change the way the tube works. So basically all I have to do is exit and move through. I can change the gain of the input to the tube, and then I can change the overall level of the overdrive. So it allows me then to even add more crunch if I would like, and then adjust the level of that afterwards, which is very hip. So then moving through the parameters, I have balance, so I could change the balance of the treble and the bass, make it more bright, make it a little darker, right, the sound. I can change the reverb amount. So if I want a little bit more reverb, I can change that very simply. Pressing exit, now I'm ready to move on to the next parameter. I've got the horn slow motor, so when it's in the slow position, the speed of the slow, and then the speed of fast. But then I also get to change the rotor slow and fast, and then the ramp-up times, which are very important with a real mechanical rotary speaker. The horn revs up faster than the big rotor because they had the same kind of motor, but you had more momentum with the rotor than you did the treble speaker. So you can actually control the time at which it takes to rev up on both, separating the horn and the rotor time, and the slowdown, of course. And then you could change the frequency modulation and the crossover. So if you wanted to change the way the crossover points are, it changes the way the sound works in the split a lot. So mess around with that. It has a wonderful feature called horn resonance. So if you want to open the horn or close the horn a little bit, you can do that real simply. Just turn it up. I'm going to open it now. I'm going to close it. Different resonation. So it's a wonderful feature. Now look at the fact I can change the timbre of the organ. I can change the reverb length. So if I want a nice, like, hall, I turned up the reverb amount earlier. Now I'm changing the features of the actual digital reverb. So I can get that nice long decay, but then I can change some of the parameters by turning the tone down maybe to dark. The spring reverbs were not as bright as digital reverbs, so you don't want a lot of that springy sound up top. You want more of a deep sounding resonation in the reverb. Switch it to dark, right? And then you can change the gain of the reverb. So if you want to actually edit more reverb inside of it, here it is. I got a lot more. So there we go. And then I can change the preset name and then save it to the position I can recall later. So the editing features inside here allow me to tweak the sound exactly the way I want it and give me all the parameters that I need to make that sound the way I like it. The Burn is not only a rotary speaker, but a very versatile multi-effects unit that comes handy in many situations, not just for keyboards. Here we have a preset that simulates the distorted guitar amp and used by many rock bands. Here we have an effect for electric piano with amp simulation and phasing. Here we have the simulation of tape echo that features the typical wah and flutter of the tape. You can also auto-oscillate. This is a classic wah-wah effect. It can be modulated either by its own LFO or by an external expression pedal. This sound is obtained by a filter and an LFO that produces a timbre that used in the famous prog songs of the 70s. Another unique feature of the Burn is the presence of the MIDI interface, which can be used to command almost every parameter for the live performance. First of all, the rotary effect speed, and for this purpose, the Burn includes a list of pre-programmed templates that accept the MIDI commands coming from most common digital organs from various manufacturers, and it's also possible to create your own personalized set. Thanks to the two separate jacks for audio inputs and outputs, it is possible to connect a stereo instrument and take advantage of the true stereo bypass. This means that once the unit is set to bypass mode, the stereo signal entering the input jacks reaches the output jacks completely untouched. It is possible to connect optional accessories to the Burn that can control the rotary speeds or other parameters and other effects, such as wah-wah modulation and delay time. Original accessories that come with the Burn include the rotary half-moon switch, a 2-button foot pedal control, and the long-throw swell pedal. Because the input used to process the sound is always the left one, the right input can be used to connect a multimedia player or any other audio source for playing along with backing tracks that can be mixed to the sound of the Burn. Did we say that the Burn has headphone outputs? Well, this is so we can play at night without disturbing the whole neighborhood.